Yankees time, week 4. Presented by our friends at Toyota. The top 2 unchanged. After that, we got some movement. The Lions. Hey, people are triggered that the Lions are ahead of the Packers because the Packers beat the Lions. Folks, it is an evolving experience. The Packers beat the Lions in week 1. 2 weeks later, the Packers lost to the Browns, and the Lions had one of the biggest wins of the year.
Right.
They went into Baltimore, and they out-Baltimored Baltimore.
That's right.
So, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't care that the Packers beat the Lions in week 1. Where are we right now?
Right.
Where are we right now? This is where we are, and it's more than appropriate. And it happens all year long. Well, back in week 2, we beat that team. It doesn't matter. Where are you right now? What are you doing for me right now? Right now, the Lions are number 3, and the Packers are number 7, and they're my rankings. Deal with it if you don't like it.
Well, no, I hear what you're saying. I mean, hey, I understand head-to-head matchups have value and all of that too, right? But as the year goes on, that's just not what you got to look at in totality. Just because you lost to that one team doesn't mean you're not better in totality. I mean, so by that logic, sometimes I want to go, well, then let's put the Browns in front of the Packers. That's what I would say to people. Like, I guess the Browns are better this week, so let's put them in front of the Packers. I mean, no, that's not the way it works. We know it's the NFL. The margin of victory is slim. I mean, the league is like this, and it's a matchup league, right? You have certain teams where you go, wait, we match up really well with this team, and you could have a team that beats you, and they don't match up the same well with that team the next week. So it doesn't always just work like that. That's a tough little area, though, you got right there with that, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's a tightly packed group right there. How'd you kind of decipher through all of that there?
Pulled it out of my butt.
Yeah.
As I always do.
Right,
it's a very
much.
detailed process of what feels right to me as I'm doing it. I mean, look, it's not a projection. People think it's also like, oh, well, if the Chargers and the Bucks played this week, you're saying the Chargers would win. No, I'm just saying as of right now, the Chargers have been a little more impressive than the Buccaneers. I mean, the Buccaneers have had to pull a rabbit out of their hat 3 straight weeks. Some would argue that that's more impressive than what the Chargers have done. It's close. Those are close. 3, 4, 5, 6 are all close to me. And, the Packers beat the Commanders, so there was no way. I mean, that is one area where it's going to be apples to apples because the Commanders beating the Raiders on Sunday isn't nearly enough for me to say, well, that's more than enough to make up for the fact that the Packers just, took care of the Commanders without it being very close. So, the hard one is the Colts.
Well,
I feel like
yeah, right.
I feel like at 9, I feel like 9 is fair. They're up 4, so I was already on the bandwagon, and this is their opportunity. They're playing the Rams this week. You want to crack the top 6? Beat the Rams.
Yeah.
You beat the Rams, and you'll be in the top 6.
Yeah, that was one I was going to ask you about, the Colts a little bit, right? I was just going to go, how did you do that? But I can understand you not being totally sold on it quite yet. Played the Dolphins and the Titans. I think 2 of the more bottom of the league type of football teams. Did beat the Broncos, who I think are damn good. So I understand you wanting to see one more week against another quality opponent to gauge that. The other one I want to ask you about is you got 2 1-2 teams ahead of a team that's 3-0 and 2-1 and 2-1 and 2-1, right? How'd you get through to that, right? How'd you deal with the Chiefs? Because I said you're with the Chiefs, and this is the one I was most interested to see. And I went, I know they're the Chiefs. I know all that. But, damn, the Chiefs, I don't care who it is. It's going to be a close game, and they're going to barely win it. That's just how good are they? I don't really know. And that's one I wanted to hear you explain a little bit with your logic there with the Chiefs.
Well, and look, I've gotten no complaints from Chiefs fans that even though they won by double digits, they fell a spot.
Yeah.
No complaints at all. Because they know.
Ugly. Right.
They know.
Right.
And I feel like this game coming up, it's not really an elimination game between the Ravens and the Chiefs, but whoever loses is going to be digging out of the mess for the rest of the season because they're going to be 1-3. I mean, this is a compelling game as we expected, but for reasons different than we expected. Because the loser of this game is screwed in the short term, and they're slipping into Bengals territory from last year where there may not be enough games for you to win down the stretch to overcome this bad start of 1-3. But the 49ers at 3-0, I'm not overly impressed with their wins.
No,
although
right.
The win over Seattle looks a lot better, and I had to keep them. And that's one where, I mean, the 49ers haven't lost, and they did beat the Seahawks. Even though right now the Seahawks look better than the 49ers, I didn't want to deal with all that from 49ers fans because they haven't lost, deserve to be ahead of the Seahawks, who they beat. But they feel like they're sinking right now. I didn't move them up, but I didn't move them down. But they're undefeated, but they lost Nick Bosa. And Mac Jones is banged up, and Brock Purdy's banged up, and George Kittle's banged up. And it's amazing they're managing to outscore opponents as they're dropping like flies.
Yeah, it is. It speaks to the culture of their team. They're still dangerous. They still got a good defense. They still got some playmakers. It might not be what it was a few years ago. It was a tough-fought win they had against the Cardinals. But, yeah, I think you're right. I think that's kind of what's interesting about, like, your power rankings and just the NFL in general right now is there's a lot of teams there from 10 to 19 or 18, I'll say, because I'm not sure I'm going to put the Bengals in that classification or category there. But 10 through 18 where you go, there's things about those teams I like. The jury's still out. I'm not quite sure how good they are, but I see hope or a silver lining for some of those teams in 10 through 16 or the next graphic, which has the Cardinals and Jaguars at 17, 18 to go. I can see some things there where I look at it and go, there's playoff caliber type of stuff on their football team. Let's just see how this plays out a little bit. But I feel like for going into week 4, we're in a year here where I feel like, yeah, there's more teams that I look at maybe than normal in a week 4 where I go, there's a lot of playoff caliber teams. Let's see where this goes, right? Like, I'm not going to can't count the Bears out yet with where they're going. It's early. That offense can be explosive. There's a few teams where you just go, hey, I can see them being a player here and making some waves in the NFL as far as the playoff conversation when it's all said and done.
I was on with Dan Patrick the other day, and I said, look, we know the good teams. We know the bad teams. There's this wide swath in the middle that will break one way or the other.
That's a good way to say it.
We have seen teams that were right around 500.
Right.
The Patriots is the team I mentioned. When they won their first Super Bowl in 2001, they were 5-5 through 10 games. Lost to the Rams, I think, to fall to 5-5 on a Sunday night. And then, boom, they caught fire. Like, we see that happen.
Yeah.
It's not impossible. And so one of those teams from out of the middle can rise up and challenge the teams that we assume are good. Because even when we get to Thanksgiving, there's still a lot of football to be played. Not a lot of show left to be done. Before we break, though, we do have to just at least acknowledge, put the thing back up, please. The Saints are as bad as I've ever seen the Saints. They are underdogs in Buffalo by 16.5 points this week. It's the biggest spread they've faced since 1975. So the Aints are back. Get out the bags. Cut the holes in them, but turn it around so you don't have to watch them.
You're funny. Yeah. I can't disagree with a whole lot of you said there. They are the worst team, and that was a horrible, embarrassing, butt-whooping loss they took up in Seattle last weekend.
And two other things real quickly. The Titans at number 31. I dropped them 6. I had hope in the Titans. That's done now. And it's just a matter of time before Brian Callahan gets fired. It's just a question of when. Because he's in this quicksand and he doesn't know how to get out of it. And he's saying things that don't make any sense, and they're doing things that feel desperate. The Dolphins are in that same spot. The Falcons feel like they're starting to fall apart. I put them down 7 spots after that big win in week 2, shut out by the Panthers in week 3. So the bottom 8 teams have worked very hard to earn their spot, and I don't think they're going to have to work all that hard to keep it.
Let me say one more thing just before we go there because of the Falcons, right? I broke this down a little on my podcast yesterday. And I've been a little critical of Zach Robinson in the passing offense. I certainly have. Hey, week 1, the Bucs, hey, it kind of came alive at the end of the football game. It was pretty good. Week 2, you're like, I don't know what to think of it. They won the game, but we know the Minnesota defense is complicated and hard. Week 3, all right, watching that game back, That was Michael Penix really struggled. I actually was floored with how badly he played. Right, you heard Raheem Morris make a comment of going like he was off. He was off. I mean, there was people open everywhere. Everywhere. He missed throws. He didn't throw it. He didn't see them open. Whatever. It was a bad, bad day. And yeah, this is going to be a big week for Atlanta here. Sitting at 1-2, their defense has been awesome. Their offense has been very, very average. And Michael Penix certainly played the worst game of his young career so far. So let's see if he can bounce back this week.
So if the receivers are open and Michael Penix isn't delivering the football, why do you fire the receivers coach the next day?
It feels like a scapegoat move. Right. Yeah.
It's rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. This can't be because we screwed up the quarterback decision and gave $90 million to Kirk Cousins and then drafted Michael Penix. This is the prop up Michael Penix phase of the Falcons' existence. Book it. All right, we got to take a break. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.